Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm going to read a quote that I came across last week, and I've been pondering it for a while. It's not, there's a quote at the end, there's a bit of a section that I'm going to read, and this comes from John Adams. Um, it leads me to ponder the state of our country. And I don't mean just our government, but I mean the state of our society as a whole. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to walk through some of my thoughts. Just to preface this clip, this video, I'm not recording this from a point of authority. I'm not recording this as a contention that I have a conclusion. I merely intend to inspire thought. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and then we'll go through it. While our country remains untainted with the principles and manners which are now producing desolation in so many parts of the world, while she continues sincere and incapable of insidious and impious policy, we shall have the strongest reason to rejoice in the local designation assigned to us by Providence. But should the people of America once become capable of that deep simulation towards one another and towards foreign nations, which assumes the language of justice and moderation, while it's practicing inequity, extravagance, and displays in the most captivating manner of charming pictures of candor, frankness, and sincerity, while it is rioting and repeat insolence, this country will be the most miserable habitation in the world, because we have no government armed with the power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through our net. Our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. This was from John Adams. I'm reading this. I'm reading this from libertyfund.org. I have not read the entire text. And I am cherry picking what is said in this statement. So this was written in October of 1798 to the officers of the First Brigade of the First Division of the Militia of Massachusetts. Man, such weighty words. And it's not just the end. The end is the famous quote, right? Our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people and is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. It's a pretty famous quote, as I've come to find. I had actually not heard it prior to last week. But the context that is given prior really strikes a chord with me. Because his statement is that if our country were to assume taking place in a simulation of saying we are X, a moral, ethical, governmental beacon in the world, while our actions at home reflect Y, then our country will become the most intolerable inhabitants, I think, an intolerable habitation in the world. Because our Constitution was written to govern moral and religious men. Meaning that the rules and freedoms that were enumerated in our Constitution was intended for people who have a baseline moral and ethical obligation, presumably to God, but a moral baseline and ethical obligation to themselves at the very least and to their community. My question is, where are we as a society? Are we claiming to be a moral and ethical beacon, while as a society we are lost, rioting, bickering amongst ourselves, creating division and divisiveness? Are we instead building each other up, building up our families, building up our homes, our communities, educating our young, supporting our elderly. As a society, are we doing that? As individuals, are we doing that? As a Christian, am I doing that? To me, his inference is that our Constitution was written to enumerate rights for people who already have the moral and ethical maturity to handle it. Is that something that we display now as a people? I think that's a question. I think that's a question that we have to answer for ourselves individually. But once you answer the question for yourself individually, I think we then have the obligation to our communities, to our families, to our future generations to start to ask ourselves, is that where we are as a society? And does the government that we have reflect those values? Our Constitution was made for a moral and religious people and it is wholly inadequate to govern any other. Heavy words. Food for thought.